Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Standing Committee on Strategies and Public Policies. This is not a regular meeting where we'll have resolutions and long speeches from councillors or anything like that. So this is an informative meeting. The goal is to share information, but also to receive information from citizens. The aim is to better understand the challenges that are facing us and facing you. The city of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the unceded traditional ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The peace and friendship treaties that the Mi'kmaq jointly developed and signed with the British Crown, and this happened in the 18th century, and it applies to this territory. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of land or resources, but in fact recognized the Mi'kmaq title and set out the rules for what was to be a lasting relationship between the parties. So welcome to all of you once again, and without further ado, we will start with the first presentation, which is the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee. The presentation will be given by Ms. Germaine Maillet. Inaudible to the interpreter, the microphone is not on. Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. I am Germaine Maillet, and today I'm here to present to you an annual snapshot of the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee of Dieppe. Oh, they gave me a little pen. So here's what we'll discuss during this presentation. First, we'll talk to you about our mission and objectives as a committee. I would like to present to you the members of the committee that are here this evening. There's me, Germaine Maillet, I'm the chair, Cécile Lavoie, vice chair, treasurer Yvan Comeau, Gisèle Poirier, Normand Leblanc, Rose-Marie Giroir, Marielle Leblanc, Jacques Allard, Patricia Babin, Paul Thériault, Louis Leblanc, Yvan Maillet, Bernice Comeau, Gisèle Tallard, and Carmen Comeau Anderson. The activities of the year 2022-2023, the volunteering that we do, and the next steps for the good of the committee. Let's go back and talk about the history of the advisory committee. From what I understood, in 2010, we reached out to seniors with students from University of Moncton, and they were doing social activities. That's how we started. Then we developed an action plan in 2012. Then we received the Age-Friendly Municipality Certification, or MADA certification. And then we got the CPAD and MADA distinctions in 2022. The committee aims to promote quality of life for all seniors in Dieppe, as well as to protect their rights and interests. Here, what you see on screen are discussion meetups that we have about once a month. And this is something that interests our seniors. Our objectives is to promote participation in activities, in community activities, cultural activities, recreational activities, in order to develop a sense of unity in the community and belonging. We would like also to support activities that might be interesting to seniors and encourage them to participate. We want to work with the powers that be to improve the services and well-being that are offered to seniors. We want to promote a positive image of aging and community engagement for people that are 50 and up. So why would someone join our organization? We organize a variety of free activities that have something for everyone. We develop friendships between participants and foster a feeling of belonging. So in the photos here, you could see that we organize hikes and walks on Wednesdays, and I'll explain more about this a little bit later. Usually we start the year on October 1st. Because that is the kickoff of the International Seniors Week, which always starts on October 1st. This year, we organized a barbecue at the Rotary Park in the 55 plus area. We thought it was very important to promote that area. We had a lot of fun. Over 100 people participated, and even the mayor came to see us. We had a lot of fun. That was such a joyful day. We played games. We played pétanque. We played horseshoes. We played shuffleboard and ring toss. So that was such a good day, and that was on Saturday, October 1st. Then on October 3rd, we had a speaker come to Hospice Sud-Est. On October 4th, we had a trivia night at the library. On the 5th, we had an educational presentation on fraud that was given by the RCMP. On the 5th, we also had craft workshops where we made pumpkins with recyclable materials. And then at the Center, we had a water yoga class. People really enjoyed these activities. We also had kiosks with the Red Cross, Family Prix, Chanex, and a Golden Age Club. It was really fantastic, and people really loved it. Let's talk about our successes. We've had organized weekly activities from September to May. Twice a week, we play cards and we play board games at the Maison d'Oiron from 1 to 4. On Wednesday, we have those hikes at Maison d'Oiron. They're always between 1 and 3. And then twice a month, we go outside to the Rotary Park and we take advantage of all of the beautiful parks that we leave the Rotary Park to go explore the beautiful parks that we have in Moncton and Dieppe and Riverview. On Thursday, it's crafting at Maison d'Oiron in the afternoon, and this can include anything from knitting, sewing, themed crafts. So it's always a lot of fun. Once a month on Tuesdays, we have these coffee meetups. They include information sessions like the fraud one that was presented by the RCMP. We also had Roméo Cormier from La Solitude that told us about forest bathing. That was super interesting. On Thursdays, we do projects once a month that are culinary projects, and they're usually holiday themed according to the time of year, and that's at the Dieppe Center. We now have 145 participants on our list. We use Dieppe Branché to reach all of those people, and we also send emails. So So we use the emails to send information to our subscribers about all of the activities, and it works very well. All of the work is done on a volunteer basis, and the activities are all free. I'll share some stats with you, which I thought was very interesting because for each activity we organized, we took attendance. So on Mondays and Fridays at the Maison Doiron. So on Mondays, we had 483 participants in 2023. On Fridays, we had 302 people come. For the hikes on Wednesdays, 350 people participated. On Thursdays for crafting, 350 people came out. On those Tuesdays, once per month, we had 93 participants for the coffee meetups. And then on for the culinary activities, 46 people came. And all of these activities are free.
La journée intergénérationnelle est toujours le 1er juin de chaque
The
année.
intergenerational day is always the first Thursday of the year. This year, we had students come to Maison Doiron, and these students came and we gave them a guided tour. The kids loved it. We had a snack in the basement at the cafe downstairs, and everyone really enjoyed it. Every senior was assigned to a group of students, and then we visited the Doiron house together. The kids prepared a presentation, which was story time. It really filled the hearts of the seniors to have this activity. We also do volunteering. We support the community. We've donated toques, socks, mittens, toys, and food, which we did in partnership with École Sainte-Thérèse. We also sewed hearts for breast cancer. So in the photo, you can see we all had our aprons on because we were doing some cooking. So in December, we do some baking and we share it amongst the seniors because when seniors live alone, it's hard to cook. So this culinary activity is something that seniors really enjoy because we make recipes like making a big pot of soup and then we share it all amongst the participants. We were able to make 53 toques for Christmas and we brought them to the school. And in January, we delivered an extra 30 toques, which the kids truly appreciated. Let's talk about challenges now. First of all, funding. We received $6,000 from the city, which allows us to organize such great free activities for Dieppe's senior citizens. Currently, seniors don't have a permanent meeting place. This gives them a sense of community. It would be so great if we had a place to meet. Currently, we struggle with this when we want to organize our activities. We don't have any storage at Maison Doiron, for example. We have to go to the Uniplex where we have storage, so we have to transport all of our equipment. So that can be difficult. Some of us have arthritis, and it can be quite a challenge. So it would be such a boon to have a permanent space. The storage facility is not on the same site as our activities. It's also difficult to do the outreach to seniors that are isolated. So we try to use communication to reach out to these people. Things have improved. I've seen a difference in the last 2 years. We're able to communicate through word of mouth. We use Dieppe Branché. We're on the community calendar. And every Sunday, we send a list of the week's activities out.
La prochaine étape
So the next step would be to participate in the feasibility study with the City of Dieppe to find out how we can meet the needs of seniors age 50 and plus. In the near future, we would like to become a resource center for Dieppe's seniors. I think it's very important. I think we have a lot of fun in these activities. There's a lot of sharing that happens between seniors. I realize that seniors have special needs, and this all depends on their situation. Are they in a couple? Are they living alone? And these are factors that we need to take into consideration. We would like to thank the City of Dieppe for its financial and administrative support to the committee. I think the help is heartwarming. Sonia helps us a lot. We get a lot of help from Hubert and other employees of the city. Cassandra helped me so much this summer with technical things. As you can see, sometimes I struggle with technology, and so that's so welcome. We're so grateful of being able to use the Maison d'Oiron for our weekly activities. So that's the end of my presentation. Do you have any questions? Any questions from counselors? Ms. Janet, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for this presentation. It's such a treat to welcome you here this evening. Congratulations on the work you do. It seems that you have a good participation rate in your activities. I was wondering this. Have you considered organizing more intergenerational activities or maybe pairing youth with seniors for activities? Yes, absolutely. This is something we'd like to do. We just heard from many schools, from school teachers asking us for help. I got a call from Sainte Thérèse School that invited us to come meet students to show them how to make mittens. So there's the vice president and another member of the committee, Bernice, will go out to that school and give them a hand. So that's something we can definitely continue to do, but we always struggle with the location. Where can we organize these activities? It's not always easy to access a space, but we would love to do that. We would love to bring youth out to show them how to cook at the Uniplex, how to make cookies. That's absolutely something that would be interesting. It would be good for both, right? For the young people to get access to all of your knowledge. And maybe there are seniors that are feeling lonely that would love to have more contact with other generations. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Mr. Jean-Roy, thank you, Your Worship. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to congratulate you. I think what you're doing is very interesting. You know, I'm almost eligible to join your club. I'd like to participate in your activities. They sound like a lot of fun. Your objectives are to promote a positive image of aging. I think that's so important, and I think you're doing it now. You do it through your activities. I think it's important to emphasize this, to build this positive vision of aging. I do have a question in the end. You talked about communication and how to reach out to people and get them to participate in your activities. You find that's a little more challenging. Of course, there's word of mouth, and we'll talk about it too, and we'll promote your activities. And congratulations and much success in the future. And of course, if you'd like to join us, you can absolutely join us. The seniors would welcome you with open arms. In fact, we'd love to have you join. Thank you, Ms. Godbout. I'd like to follow up on what my colleague was saying about communication with elders. I think there's a role that young people can play to reach out to seniors. We could do more here. If you are living here in Dieppe, it's probably because your family is here, and maybe we can call upon young people and their parents to participate in your activities and to spread the word because it's true. The bulk of the communication that we have reaches those people, and we can get them to reach out to seniors and give us a helping hand and encourage participation. Thank you for your lovely presentation. Thank you. Thank you. I see no other hands, so now it's my turn to stir the pot. I would like to know what the connection is between the various seniors groups. If, for example, we think of so on the committee that I sit on, that I reign over, yes, there are two committees. I'm not sure I have the right dates because I wasn't necessarily here, but we split things. So the MATA committee wasn't a programming committee, so we divided it, and that's why we have the programming community. And then you spoke to the age-friendly committee. So those groups have different goals. So today we're talking about programs and strategies. And so they will take the lead on the study to have a space for seniors or a senior center. So this is the group that will help you figure that out. So are these two committees communicating together? Yes, and I think that some members sit on both committees, so there is a communication between the groups. I want to share some comments that I've made in the past. I said, go big or stay home, because we're only going to do this once. You know, when we decide which direction we head in based on the feedback that we get, we all know that we can go online and see what other provinces are doing in Canada, and there's all sorts of fantastic things that are getting done. It's not, we need more than 1,000 square feet to accomplish our goals. And so we'll have to promote our objectives to the citizen representatives that are sat here around the table. We'll do this when the time comes. But I wanted to make sure that information is flowing between these groups so that we can think big, because this is the kind of thing we only want to do once. We want to build something that will be good for future generations. Some of us are already seniors, but other people will become seniors and go through this. I can't believe I've already passed the age 50 threshold to get my Golden Age Club card. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again and talking about this further. Thank you. The next group will be a presentation from the Association francophone des garderies éducatives du Nouveau-Brunswick, AFGNB, and the presentation will be given by Ms. Landry. Okay, great. Well, good evening to all of you. I'm here this evening to talk to you about early learning childcare centers in New Brunswick, and we're going to focus particularly on Dieppe. I'm not always so comfortable with technology, despite the fact that I'm young. Okay, so here we go. So the plan for the day, which I'll try to get through quickly, because it is a complicated subject. There's a lot of information about childcare services, and we always have so little time to talk about it. So we're going to talk about the current situation, the environmental and social, the social and economic landscape. We'll talk about the Canadian, the federal government program with the provincial government. We're going to talk about the designation program for learning centers. We're going to talk about rate cards. We're also going to talk about the challenges that are faced in early learning centers in New Brunswick, and then we'll look into some statistics. We have a lot of numbers and tables for you. Some of them have been included in the presentation, but today I'm going to focus mainly on Dieppe, and that way we won't get lost along the way. So a quick introduction. I'm Renee Martin Landry, as you introduced me so nicely earlier. I've got 13 years of experience in early learning. I own Le Platinum, and I have since 2015. I have a BA in primary education. I also have a certification in childhood education from CCNB. I've also done other trainings and professional development in the field. I'm also the president of the AFGENB. I've been the president for 3 years. We've been in existence for a full year. We have worked very hard throughout the province with stakeholders that care about early learning, and this is something we've built in the last few years. We're very proud with what we've accomplished in the recent years, both with the department and the government. So the association brings together, we are a sectoral association. We represent everyone who works in early learning. Our mission and our mandate is to have a strong and unified voice when we go to meetings with deciders. Certainly, you might have children or grandchildren that are in early learning centers, and there are many decisions that we have to make. Every decision needs to be made, and sometimes we don't have a lot of time to think about them, and it's difficult to know what impacts decisions can have on the sector. So we work with our triangle, that's what we call it. I don't know if you can see it on screen. So the sector is one tip of the triangle, the department is another corner, and then the association is another corner. So we work hard on consultation, collaboration. The association represents home-based childcare centers, designated early learning centers, whether they be for-profit or not for-profit. We also have daycare centers that are strictly for after school. And we also include the people that do the cooking and the drivers, anyone who works in this sector. So here you have me, the president, and Sylvie Lang, who's our DG, and she's been in her role since July. So let's talk about the social and economic context. Of course, for social issues, we have the post-pandemic situation. We have emotional and mental health aftershocks from the pandemic that affected everyone in the population. But the effects that we're seeing in kids are still concerning, especially with how society is evolving, so we need to do something about that. There's also the effects of electronics. Technology use in children has led to decreased concentration, waiting their turn. You know, all of these things that we need to learn to do to live in society are being a little bit undermined with the way that we live today. Our parents are very busy. Parents need to work a lot to meet their needs, especially with the cost of living increases due to inflation. So we see this in daycare centers and we see it within the children as well.
Familles à faible revenu.
We also have low-income families. We all know that poverty is increasing, and often parents have to, hold down 3 or 4 jobs just to be able to pay for food and everything that comes with that. There's also the challenge of recruitment and retention, and that's everywhere. But we know that in the daycare services, we can't allow ourselves to shut a class down, because that means that in our community there will be people that won't be able to go in and get out to get a job. So, I put the information down on the Canada-wide agreement and the subsidies that are available to parents. And there's a lot of information here, and I don't have much time to present it, but there's also the question of designation. So designation, that with the Canada-wide, that means that if you're designated, so if you're in a rural area, or urban area rather, all parents will be paying $18 for preschool services per day, and for an infant, it's $21 a day. In urban regions, it's $16 for preschool services and $19 for infants, or children of preschool age, rather. Now, depending on parents' income, they might have access to other funding as well, but we're talking where there's nothing available for after-class spots. But for parents, often parents have to leave they'll have to leave their kids at home alone, under the age of 9, and that's what we're seeing anyway. So after-class schools do not benefit from the Canada-wide agreement, but I think that we have to do something for our children, for the after-school situation there. So I presented some tables there. I don't think I'm going to go into details because we have data here for the Anglophone, Francophone groups. I just want to focus on what's happening in Dieppe so that you have the actual data for the city. And now, these figures are changing quickly, but I don't know if you heard of the moratorium that was put on after-school classes once the Canada-wide program came. Everyone that was in daycare services, 0 to 5 years old, all of those parents were entitled to $18 per day. But then after that, there was a realization that there are other parents coming, and there are still children that need daycare services, and we only have so much money. We don't know where we want to put it. But we're difficulty getting getting clear answers or clear results. But in the Canada-wide program, when they give money, what they said they need to do, they said we need to do more research. And with the moratorium, they decided that so for Dieppe, there is only going to be a certain number of spaces that are allocated for designation. So as owners and as daycare services, we can't choose. So that means I can't decide to create another class of 4-year-olds because I can't offer that service, because the government will not give me funding for those designated places. So we have to make a request, and if the demand is there, then they'll agree to fund us. But then otherwise, we have to wait till next year, or you have to wait for the next RFP rather. So for Dieppe, basically, the basic picture is that there are 54 daycare centers in Dieppe. 9 operate in English and 45 run in French. So in French, there is 78. Sorry, once I get start talking, I can't. I lose track here.
Okay, so à Dieppe, c'est ça, tu vois.
Okay, so in Dieppe, so what you see is with the moratorium, we are allowed 39 places for infants and 20 or 12 preschool children, and that's on the Francophone side. So that means that existing daycares, where we're not equipped to serve infants, because you know that infants need a room to take naps, and so the situation is not working. So preschool, we've got 12. So in all of Dieppe, there are 12 places that can be, or spaces that can be created to get with designation. And so we have to divide that up. So for example, daycare A will open a group, but with 3 spaces. But I mean, when it could accommodate 10, really. So it looks good on paper, but when it comes to actually setting up the services, it's not coherent. It doesn't work. So yes, there are RFPs, but it doesn't really reflect what's happening in the industry. If we want to have people working in Dieppe, if we see that things are growing, well, we need people to work. We need daycares to take care of those kids. So we really have to ask, like, what do we want to do as a city to stand out? And how can we go and get innovators to accompany, or navigators rather, to help parents find spots? But there are lots of obstacles associated with that designation process. All right, sorry, I skipped a few slides. All right, so in the current state of the sector, all the daycare centers that are designated, that comes with funding, and there's a ceiling. So the department determines where that threshold is, and I can't go beyond it. And then once a year, when I renew my request, I can increase my fees depending on where I am. But it's not profitable. Now, with infants, it's 3 children per educator, and so it's not viable for a company. So I was telling you that the sector is complex, and it's because it is complex. It is very complicated. So basically, that's what we had to share with you today. For Dieppe. Now, if we want more educational daycares in Dieppe, the cost of facilities and rentals is very high. We have newcomers and immigrants that need spaces as well for their children. So we can't provide that service to those people. There are also more children that need after-school care. And as I was explaining earlier, this is not covered by the agreement. So there's zero money from government for after-school programs. So parents have to pay about $80 a week for a child from between the ages of 2 and 5. And if and that's when they're there for the full day. And then when the child starts school, the parents have to pay $115 to $120 a week for after-school care. So often parents will just say, okay, well, we'll just keep them at home. And often these are children that are, are alone, and they're not motivated. And we're worried about that. We're worried about that group of children that is kind of isolated. If it's a big change for those kids too, to have to stay home and no longer have access to daycare. And I've mentioned this already, some parents leave their children home when the legal age is 12. And with the Canada-wide program, the intention of the government was to have more people in the labor market so that we can, and to have more spaces in daycares, but this is temporary. Once the child hits 5 years, that service ends, and then the mom and her dad have to go back home to take care of the kids. So it does have an impact on the provincial economy. In Dieppe, the number of designated places is hard to obtain. There's a lot of many French language daycare needs go unmet, and parents are forced to place their children in the English language system. And once children get into the English system, they continue there. And I'm talking about, when they're, if there's an Anglophone, one of the parents is Anglophone, they'll start by going to an Anglophone daycare, and then that will continue, and then we lose those children to the English language system. Municipal policy that encourages Francophone immigration will be much more difficult to achieve as well. So business opportunities. So planning future daycare facilities according to the needs of parents, children, main roads, employers, schools, and post-secondary education or institutions, sports facilities, natural areas, and municipal strategies. Plan multicultural and intergenerational experiences. And this is kind of a continuation of the speech or the presentation before me, but it would be great if we could kind of gather the different generations together. This could be beneficial to seniors and for children alike, and then support French language daycare centers. Children make our lives important. So no, I apologize for the spelling area. There's an error here. There should be an O where there's a U. But it's essential that our community invest in the development of our children, knowing that the prime years of a child's development are 0 to 8. And today's children are tomorrow's leaders. So we have to think about that. Everything starts with that. And as an association, it's very important to us. And we're very concerned about the next generation. We see these children, we spend our days with them, and it's worrying to see where society is going. So it's important that we start to do something for these kids. All right, thank you. Do you have any questions? I imagine there will be a few of them. Sure, any questions from councillor members? Let's start with Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. Could you bring me back to slide 12? I'm surprised by the figures. The Francophone Anglophone ratio in Dieppe is, look, when I look at the new spaces, it's a lot higher on the Anglophone side than on the Francophone side. So were you provided with an explanation? Yes, I asked the question too. So 124 preschool spaces for the Anglophone side, that's a lot. And when I asked the question, they said that when they did the research and they went and they looked on the ground, it was based on the demand that they saw. So there was a lot of demand on the English side in Dieppe. That's what I was told. All right, I'm surprised by that. Oh, thank you for your presentation. It's very informative for us. I haven't, it's been a while since I've worked in the education sector, but I had forgotten those figures. But I'm happy to see, though, that we have 54 daycares in Dieppe, and 45 of those are Francophone, so that's good. Great, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Godbout.
Merci beaucoup pour votre présentation.
Thank you for your presentation.
Je suis en réflexion de ce que vous nous avez dit. C'est beaucoup,
I'm thinking about what you've just told us. It's that's a lot to digest. I haven't had a kid in the daycare system for 5 years now, and things have changed in the last 5 years. So when we look at what's taken place over the last 5 years, so if I understand correctly, a lot of the impact that you sustain come from political changes at the provincial level. And as an association, what kind of contact do you have with provincial representatives? You said you had a good relationship with the Department of Education and Early Childhood Learning, but what efforts have you made to reach out to the provincial government? Well, as I said, the topic is very complex. There's a lot of things that we've worked on with those people as an association. We worked with Minister Cardy. We had meetings with him, and then things changed a lot. But Minister Cardy was there with us until he left. But he had started to understand the point that that it's a social enterprise, it's commercial enterprise. It doesn't mean that just because I'm a for-profit company, that doesn't mean I make millions of dollars every year. So, all the decisions that we make are the goal is to give back to community. So we have meetings often with civil servants and so that they can report it. And Marcel Lavoie, but everything has changed now, and they're rebuilding that. So we're rebuilding our relationships. We had meetings with Kevin Arsenault from the Green Party. We had a lot of meetings also with Robert Gauvin, Roger Melançon as well. So they helped us to push and to build, but now we have to start all over again. So there you go, with the new policy. Well, congratulations. I think that's what you have to do. But if we can encourage you in those efforts, if we can support you, let us know. The role that you play in our community is essential. Families are at the heart of our community life here in Dieppe, and it's really important to us. I was thinking about your point, and I'm sure that staff will have more to add. But we need to see what we can do in our municipal planning to maybe add more facilities. But do you find that the current infrastructure in Dieppe does that support you? Do you use our public facilities, for example, in your daycares? Does it help you? Does it support you in your role? Yes and no. No, I'm an owner. If I want to provide a quality service and I want to meet the needs of my community, if I want to go and get land, and everything's expensive. Now, I mean, we could talk about this for 3 hours there, but what I'm trying to say is that we have, as income, everything is subsidized by the government. And then we have revenue from parents. So outings depend on where you're located. You could go to the pool in Dieppe, to the library, but that's all operational budget stuff. Parents are already paying quite a lot, so we can't ask them for another increase. It's kind of a snowball effect. But so that's what we have to work on, to see what we as a community can do to support the company and to support families who want to return on the labor market. Young mothers who have just had a baby, there's no room for infants. So thank you. Any further questions? May I ask a question, Your Worship? Mr. Melançon. Do you know how many people are on the waiting list?
Oui, puis ça, c'est une question. Ouais, puis ça, c'est une question qui est un
Yes.
peu difficile
And that's a
à
bit
répondre
difficult
parce
to
que
answer.
juste sur la rue Amiro, je crois
Just
qu'il y a
on
des 7
Amiro
qui
Street,
sont
I think there are
disponibles.
7 or 8
C'est sûr et certain
daycares.
que la liste d'attente d'une garderie
So
est
the
différente que l'autre
waiting
garderie
list
qui
for
va être dans l'autre garderie.
one
Alors,
daycare
est-ce
is
que
the
ça
same
dépend, tu sais, comment
for
vous
every
êtes gens?
daycare. So when you ask me,
Pratiquement toutes
you know, how
les
many people are on the
garderies
waiting list? I mean, it's
présentement.
all the same parents
Oui,
because
sauf que c'est ça, il y a des garderies
people
partout.
parents
Il y a
put their
aussi
names
des
everywhere,
garderies, ben,
but when they
ils
do
appellent
find a
pas nécessairement
daycare,
pour dire
they
que
don't
on a
necessarily
trouvé une
call to say,
une
well, you
place.
know, we did find a spot,
Je sais
and
que le gouvernement, c'est ça
so
qui
their
dit aussi
names
qu'il
stay on there.
faut qu'on ait le
And I think
portrait, puis c'est
that that's
difficile
what we
de
need
chercher
is really a clear picture
parce que
of what's
ce qu'ils ont
going
eu
on.
comme portrait quand ils ont fait
Because what the government had
recherche,
as a picture when they did their
tout de
research
suite, ça reflète
is
pas la
not
demande qu'ils ont parce que là, les
really
gens commencent à appeler
it doesn't really
à
reflect the
mais
demand.
c'est pas ce qui avait été vu du début. Puis il y a aussi, là, ils ont mis le portail,
And you know, they put
ça, c'est vraiment, comme parents, si moi, je
they
cherche
put
ça,
the
je
online
vais
or
aller sur
the
le
online
ministère, puis c'est
portal,
une liste d'attente virtuelle, genre.
and you can see like a
Mais
a
encore là,
virtual
c'est pas tous les
waiting
parents qui
list,
vont
but
là. Fait que c'est
not all
vraiment de
parents go
trouver
to
une
that
façon
portal, and
d'avoir un portrait réel de
we need
qui.
to be able to have a clear picture of what's going on.
Hey, j'ai oublié de vous présenter, je m'excuse.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce someone here. Our treasurer, Denise Cormier, she's here with me at the meeting today. Well,
Ben oui.
well, the latest figures out of the province was was that there were 3,300 spaces on the people waiting on the waiting list. Now I'm in the Bouctouche area. And parents are willing, to drive 35, 40 minutes to find a daycare for their kids. And that's, we're at 3,300 right now on the waiting list. Councillor Godbout. There's another thing that I want to mention. So for our parents and young families, we say that this is a great city to live in, so it's really crucial that we have daycare services. And not only daycare services that are available, but daycare services that are appropriate for kids. And that means having more than one option. You can't say, well, somebody called me, I finally have a spot. Each child has specific needs. And the daycare that can welcome that child has to be able to provide the appropriate service. It's not just about finding spaces. In our city, we need to have a choice of daycares, not just in terms of number of daycares, but in terms of the services that are offered. And each daycare there should be a balanced service. So I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. It's important, and each family should be entitled to be able to have access to the daycare that can meet the needs of their children. Yeah, so it's not just a question of a center itself, a physical center. It's more than that. I said I didn't want to talk, but if the province gives us 1,000 spaces for profit daycares, and so 70% of daycares are profit, and we don't make a lot of profit, but we are private owners, and we can't go get those spots. The province doesn't want to designate us so that we can help parents. Any further questions? Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. I find it unfortunate to see, where things are at. I look at Ms. Maillet. When my she's here today, but when my child was in daycare, it was already complicated. it was difficult to find a space. And as parents, we both of us, my spouse and I, were working, and it was becoming stressful because we were waiting for an answer from a daycare. But if I look, 30 years later, things have gotten even worse. Things have not evolved to meet the demand. So, but that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, it's true. And I think it's because the government makes decisions, and what we've understood as an association. We were at the negotiating table, and we had we were able to kind of communicate that this was not working at all. We told them, you have to change the way that you're doing things, and that you're dividing things up, because the government tends to throw like an explosive bomb at us, and our response is like, okay, how do we manage the repercussions of that bomb? So now we're saying, okay, we need to take some time to think of the repercussions and how we can find solutions before those decisions are made and sent out to the associations. Now and there's a political dimension to all this, and we won't change things tomorrow, but things are evolving. Any questions? Any more questions from councillors? I don't see any. So thank you for your presentation. I think it's clear that the council at least supports you, and if you think that there's a door that we can go knocking on, don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll do what we can to help you out. All right, thank you. And I just want to say that I know that the issue is complex. I tried to present a lot of information in a short amount of time, but I hope I didn't mix you out too much. We have solutions. We do have solutions that we could present at another time, at an appropriate time, but we're an innovative association, but thank you, and have a nice evening. Thank you. All right, our next presenter, we're skipping over number 3 because there's somebody is absent here. That brings us to item number 4. This is a season. This will get us in the mood of the season. We're going to talk about snow and ice removal. Whether we want it or not, it's going to come. So. Hopefully as late as possible, but we know that it's coming. The snow is coming. Mr. Book, hello. Oh, sorry, I can't seem to get it up on the screen, but oh, help is coming.
Hop, c'est voilà.
There you go. All right, well, I'm hiring Denis. He can come work with us. All right, good evening, Your Worship and councillors. I'm back again. Every year we talk to you about our snow and ice removal plan, and there's not a lot of change from year to year, but I think the first change is that we have to adapt to different types of winters. They're never alike. So if you ask me how much snow we're going to get this winter, well, we'll know. I'll be able to tell you in April. So, but I'll go through the information that I have, and if you have questions, you can stop me, or I think it's just easy if I go here.
Là, bon, c'est juste une slide comme ça. Mais finalement,
so here's a slide. So this is our inventory. We have 192 kilometers of streets, which is 450 kilometers of lanes. We have little bits and bobs of streets that get added here and there. It could be in Domaine Notre-Dame or other places. So we have 2 extra kilometers of street for snow clearing, 67 kilometers of snow clearing required, 1,555 fire hydrants. The more this year, there's more this year because of urban development. 56 kilometers of paths, and 39 of those have snow clearing. We try to increase this every year, so we'll clear a few more kilometers compared to last year. 33 parking lots, that's 1 more than last year. We bought a parking lot in front of Saint Anselme Church, and then 92 cul-de-sacs. That's 2 new cul-de-sacs this year, 2 that need some snow clearing. In terms of equipment, we have 5 trucks with the shovel, and they also add the salt and sand. We have 11 charger with the shovel up front. We have 2 snow blowers for the trucks, and we have 6 sidewalk tractors. For the streets classification, normally we would have presented maps, but the maps are still under production, and we'll have them next time we present to you, and we'll give you more details about the streets. So the main arteries are number 1 priority, so Acadie, Amirault, Champlain, and Paul. Then second priority are collector lanes, for example, Gauvin, Centrale, La France. So they could be big or small collector lanes. And then in terms of the local streets, it's the rest of the streets. So the streets you see in subdivisions, for example, Muriel, Orléans, Marguerite. So when we get into snow clearing, often you'll see the day, if we see the day before a snowstorm, there'll be trucks that circulate on the streets, and they'll go over the whole network. And we apply something we call a brine, which is a combination of salt and water. And this helps to prevent snow and ice from sticking to the streets. So it really helps with snow clearing. There's no magic recipe. It really all depends on the temperature, but typically we have an 80-20 split between water and salt. It used to be much higher, and we reduced it last year because if it works well with 80% water, 20% salt, why would we use 25% salt? So this is effective until minus 15 degrees. So the colder it gets, the less effective the brine becomes. This is better for the kind of weather we're seeing these days, where there's more rain during the winter, and then we have to apply less salt in the afterwards, which is our goal. So that we have snow clearing and widening. There's a certain logic to our operation, but we're always trying to have everyone out in the field as soon as possible. We have many operations happening all at once. But if we clear the sidewalks before we do the streets, then we have to do the sidewalks twice. But that happens sometimes. We're able to tackle sidewalks faster than we used to. We really try to get out on the sidewalks as fast as possible and use all of the equipment we have. The routes are also planned in such a way that as soon as the piece of equipment leaves the operation center and hits the road, it's operating immediately. We try to avoid traveling without using the equipment. So we try to plan everything with that in mind. So we have the streets, the sidewalks. We also do crosswalks. You'll see at intersections, we'll have staff on the ground that will go and shovel around the posts to make sure that people can reach the buttons to cross the street. It's something that residents really appreciate. I would say that this is one of the activities that we do that doesn't attract any complaints. In fact, people write to us to thank us for this work. I don't know who came up with this idea. It came up a few years ago, and it's something we keep doing. We also try to offer service for bus shelters because we recognize that buses are highly used. So we try to hit the bus shelters as fast as possible. And then, of course, fire hydrants are something that we work on. So we work with fire services to understand which ones are a priority. So for us, our priority routes are kind of reversed with the fire hydrants because it takes a lot more time to clear fire hydrants on Champlain during the day than it might during the night. So we discuss strategy to do things as effectively as possible. So how long do our operations last? Well, it all depends on how much snow fell and also the type of snow. So generally, if we have 10 centimeter snowfall, it would take about a day and a half. And that's a day and a half starting from when we start clearing the snow until we're done all of the operations. So for us, 10 centimeters is just a little warm up. And in a day and a half or within 36 hours, we can execute the whole snow clearing plan. When we get 20 centimeters, it takes a little bit longer, 60 hours. 30 centimeters would take 84 hours. And then when there's 40 centimeters of snow, we just hope to clear it before the next snowfall because we can get everything going, do a good job. People are doing well, they're feeling excited. And then once the job is almost done, and then you turn on the radio and find that you're going to have another snow dump of 35 centimeters. You know, last year we had 20, 30, 40, 50 centimeter snowfalls every Friday. So we would get warmed up at the beginning of the week and then we'd be burnt out by the end. And we ended up having to turn to the private sector to get some reinforcements from areas where they hadn't had such intense snowfalls. Then there's also the duration of the snowfall and also the type of snow. So powder snow is easy to clear, but melting snow, wetter snow is harder on the equipment. It also takes longer. We also have to consider other factors like equipment malfunctions or breakage. So when it's a really wet snow, there's greater risk of damaging equipment. Of course, we have a great team of mechanics. So when we're operating a snow removal operation, we also have mechanics at hand, but it can be a challenge we face from time to time. Our goal, this might be a bit repetitive, but our objective is to clear the snow in the 8 hours following the end of the snowfall, which is a hefty objective. We're trying to find the tools to measure our success. We'd like to have some sort of report card to put in place. We haven't used it for the last few years because we were in a transition stage, but our goal is to have completed all of our operations. But as you know, the larger the snowfall, the longer it takes to clear it. We talked about parking lots. For example, at Place 1604, it's in downtown. It requires a lot of time, and it's a very active place, and there's a lot of work to do there. So when there's a big snowfall, it's a significant job. Same thing for the market. Sometimes snowfalls at night, and we want to clear the parking lot for the market by the Saturday morning. So So we'll try and push all the snow in one spot of the parking lot and then deal with it later. So depending on the snowfall, we have spots that we'll push the snow to. Of course, we'll talk to the organizations and respond to calls at the same time. Then we transport snow. So we need to do snow removal, and we aim to do it within 96 hours, which might seem like a lot, but it's for the reasons I mentioned earlier. For example, on daytime, we can't clear fire hydrants on main arteries. So if with this parking lot, if there's a conference at or some sort of congress at the art center, there's too much activity to clear the snow. So that being said, we've succeeded in the last years to meet that 96-hour objective. Cul-de-sacs are always a challenge as well. People who live on such streets are familiar with the idea. We push the snow. We have two methods to do the removal. We have 69 cul-de-sacs. We try to push it, but also distribute it evenly. There's other strategies where on some cul-de-sacs, there's more space and we can pile up the snow in the middle and then come remove the snow later. There are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches, but these are the tools we have to tackle snow removal for cul-de-sacs. Last year was a good year. We have some residents that called us, we talked with them, and that was a good winter for cul-de-sacs. We've had some more challenging years in the past. So classification for sidewalks and paths. So priority ones, we have priority levels for sidewalks as well. So we focus on areas that are high circulation. We also focus on sidewalks that are and paths that are closer to schools. And then we focus also on place 1604. The objective here is to clear sidewalks and paths within 24 hours following the end of the snowfall when it's 30 centimeters and less. When there's more snow, of course, it takes more time. So for priority 2, it would be the Haute Ville, the Aquatic Center, other sidewalks, collector lanes, and other paths. So of course, every artery is important. But we put schools first and main arteries first. We think about business centers too, and that's what we try to do as much as possible. This map hadn't changed, and that's why it's still here. It's just to show you that we have a snow depot, snow dump. This will be the 4th or 5th winter where we have a site. So it's off Champlain. I think it's at 1250. I always get the address wrong. No, actually it was 2050 Champlain Street. So it's just past the old airport and the Flight College. That site is pretty large. It has a capacity of 500,000 cubic meters. We have private businesses that can come use our snow dump, and many do use it, and they pay fees to access the dump. And that's really advantageous because in the past we were spread all over the community, and now we have one central area. And this site can be expanded 2 times, 3 times. There's a lot of space to accommodate growth. We even have neighbors that have used the area because there are some of our neighboring towns that are closer to our dump than their own dump, and they use it. So we have the capacity and we can accommodate that.
There's a Adopt a Hydrant program, so people can go to the website and register if they want to adopt a hydrant and keep it clear of snow. Now, if you're registered, and if you haven't done it, if we're in the area, we will clear the snow. And I don't have figures with me. I didn't have a chance to to get some, but some people do adopt a hydrant, and that's helpful to us as well, for sure. A few best practices. So we ask people not to park overnight on a municipal street if we're clearing the roads, and there's a bylaw on that. So if people don't park in the streets, that helps us clear the snow, and if they're in the streets, then that causes us problem. But if we finish our operations, we go back over everything as well to see if we've missed things. We also ask people to not push their snow from a driveway or a municipal street onto the municipal street or the sidewalk. People do that a lot. They clear their sidewalks and their yard, and so then we have to go back over those in those areas. And when this is done repetitively, we do reach out to the people. We ask for people's cooperation. It's easier if everybody follows the rules, and people who are walking appreciate that as well. Then they don't have a bunch of snow on the sidewalk. Okay, now I just talked about not parking in the street, but at stop signs you'll notice that the stop areas are more slippery, and but people who brake quickly or start quickly, that creates ice as well. So we ask people to kind of brake and to accelerate more gently and not to spin their tires. And to facilitate our work, we have to think of garbage collection as well. So we ask people not to put their garbage where it interferes with snow removal operations. So it's important to be aware of the situation and the weather conditions. And some people do help us, though. They will help us. They will clean their catch basins. And finally, it's always better to put the snow on the right side of the road when facing the street. So, look, if you have a neighbor, anyway, so basically that's it. We're getting ready. We are ready. The crews are there. We have the same number of staff as last year, but 95% of our employees are at work, so that's a good thing. And we have a bit more equipment than last year. In your budget, you authorized 3 more tractors, and we had to order them, but we've received them now. One will be assigned to sidewalks. We want to improve the level of service. And another one will be assigned to trails so that we can improve the service there. And then one will be designated or assigned to Place 1604. So that's the information I wanted to share with you this evening. I don't know if you have any questions now. As usual, there will be questions. Councillor Lanting. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Bourque, for your presentation. It's good to kind of give us perspective on this service. It's easier for people to complain. I think that's, the 2 biggest complaints in municipalities are garbage collection and snow clearing. But it's good times in the Maritimes. I just have a question on page 50. You said that there are 192 kilometers of streets and 450 kilometers of roadways. What's the difference there? Well, it's the 2 lanes. Some streets have 4 lanes, and some you know, with turning lanes, some streets even have 3 lanes on one side. Okay, so all that together comes to 450 kilometers. Yeah, and so it's not just two times 2 or times 3. It's that's the total. Now, I don't know, maybe our communications department is doing this already, but it would be interesting. It might be beneficial to kind of share this slide on Facebook so that people better understand why snow clearing takes more time after a snowstorm. I think we do share that every year, yes. But maybe Dieppe Mag. Yeah, we usually do a Dieppe Mag article at the the beginning of the winter, but well, if I had the slide, I can share it on as well as. Now the document is 10 pages long, and it contains the same table that I presented you, and this will all be on the city's website with a few maps and so forth. All right, Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Book, for your presentation. When you were talking about snow clearing time, now I remember last year people would call me in the middle of a storm and say, "Hey, Mr. Brideau, we haven't seen any trucks go by in the last year." And I would tell them, well, just look at the weather outside. You have to give our guys time to be able to clear the main streets. And I think what I'm trying to say is we need to tell people to be patient. I've been living here for 38 years, and I've never seen a winter where a street was never cleared. We do a good job at this. But during a storm, when in the middle of a storm, you have to be patient. It's not a time to take your car out and drive around. And we have to give our crews time to do their work as well. That's important. Yes, and I would add too that, when we start snow clearing, the operator's in his truck between 4 and 6 hours, and he'll do, and that's what it takes to do his complete route. And it depends on the type of snow. But if he's heading to your place, there's a beginning point and an end point. So someone in that route had the snow cleared right at the beginning, and some people are at the end. So that's another reality. But it's on average it takes 4 to 6 hours. All right, thank you. And you mentioned this already, but hydrants and then the hydrant adoption program. I really encourage people to do that. Last year, people would call me and say, "Listen, there's a hydrant in front of my house. I take care of it, but my neighbor doesn't take care of his." So it's about being good neighbors. So I would encourage people to adopt a hydrant and to keep it cleared. Now, you don't know when the firefighters are going to need your hydrant at all. So thank you. All right, Councillor Jeannet. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for the presentation. Excellent work, as usual. Some people do push snow onto the sidewalks, and others push it onto the streets. So maybe we need to continue communicating that message that that's not appropriate. But thank you for increasing the services to sidewalks. We know that people, have to take the bus, and they use active transportation to get to work. And, compared to somebody who's in a comfortable car with with heat, is additional efforts being made with regard to bus shelters to make sure that they are cleared quickly? I know that there are some that are on sidewalks, but some are on the other side of the street where there are no sidewalks. So and I know that it's more it's more complicated. Either you have to stand in the street or in somebody else's yard. Well, that'll happen sometimes, but right now, and it wasn't like this a few years ago, but we try to get going immediately. Now, we try to kind of take action right away. And if we can mention our response times, we can come back next year and say, okay, well, we've improved certain things, we've achieved certain goals. Now we do want to improve the surface for sure. Our staff is very proud of the work that it does, but as I said, the effort, there is an effort being made, yes. Well, maybe, we've had the hydrant adoption program. Maybe we could encourage people to clear bus shelters too, kind of in the same vein there. All right, thank you. Councillor Gaudette. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Bulk, for your presentation. I realize that we have lots of kilometers of roads in the city to clear. Now, you said that you're going to do a few kilometers more. Where are you going to be doing that work? Well, now we have an official connection with Martin Mathieu School. And there are a few other connections as well. We've improved the drainage, and it's a little less than a kilometer, but it's kind of spread all over the city there. So I don't have the exact locations. Okay, I was just wondering. I was wondering if you were going to do the Fox Creek to Pélagie Street. Is there a plan to do that, to the trail, to clear the trail there? I don't remember the name of all the streets, but Marguerite and I think we do clear that. Now, if you're a user of that trail, I believe you, but I think we do that already. But I'll check and I'll get in touch with you later. All right, any further questions? Thank you for the presentation. And that ends our meeting for tonight. Thank you to everybody. Have a great evening.